Hello and welcome to today's episode of Learn German Online with Schneider Institute. My name is Emma and I will be teaching you on the articles in German today. A lot of you have sent us messages because you already saw the articles in some books, wondering, oh, when do I use masculine, when do I use feminine, when do I use neutral? Today we are going to learn the articles in full details, so you stay and know how to know when to use masculine, when to use feminine, and when to use neutral as well. Now, the word for articles in German is known as Artikel. Artikel is known as articles, okay? All right, so now let's start up with knowing what the articles, how they work. For masculine, we use der. For feminine, we use die. And for neutral, we use das. Now, everything in German is categorized into three broad categories: masculine, feminine, and neutral. And of course, we have their plurals as well. So, for German, both objects and humans are categorized into masculine, feminine, and neutral. I know it's not the same way for English. In English, everything is broadly, only human beings are categorized. So for German, you have to categorize a table, for example, is masculine, der Tisch. Bread is a neutral gender. Milk is feminine, as the case may be. So you need to categorize every object into masculine, feminine, and neutral. This is totally different from English. So in German, human beings are categorized into masculine, feminine, and neutral. And objects are also categorized into masculine, feminine, and neutral. I know it sounds funny to you, but that's how it is in German. For example, television is masculine, der Fernseher. Okay, television is masculine. Chair, the sofa is neutral. Basically, look around you, a lot of things around you. The book is a neutral gender. So everything around you can be categorized into the masculine, feminine, and the neutral. Now let's go. Now remember, all masculines are categorized with der, der, der. All feminines are categorized with die, and all neutral genders are categorized with das. So now let's see some typical examples. Der Apfel, das Brot, die Orange. Der Apfel is masculine. Der Apfel is masculine. That means apple. Apfel means apple. So it means that apple is a masculine. Das Brot is the bread. So bread is a neutral gender. Die Orange is feminine. That's the orange. Now let's find out, how do we know when to use masculine, how do we know when to use feminine, and how do we know when to use neutral? Now there is no particular rule to state where to use masculine, where to use feminine, and when to use neutral. There's no particular rule to state that. Basically, you need to study each object in line with its correct article. There's no rule to state, to let you know that a chair is neutral, a table is masculine, a fridge is masculine. There's no rule for that. You need to study each object in line with its corresponding article. Now, let's see. But we have some particular instances where we can find out when we should use der, when we should use das, and when we should use die. Let's look at the usage of der. Now, der is masculine. So the first instance in which we use der is for masculine persons. So if you're referring to a man, a father, a son, a brother, the son, the father, the male child, if your friend, any gender that is male, a masculine person, you use der. For example, der Vater, die Father, der Mann, die Mann, der Bruder, die Brother, der Freund, die Friend. So we're also going to use der for masculine professions, okay? When you want to describe professions that are masculine. For example, the mechanic, der Mechaniker, the teacher, der Lehrer, the engineer, der Ingenieur. So always use der for masculine professions. The male teacher is der Lehrer, the mechanic is der Mechaniker, and the engineer, der Ingenieur, as the case may be. So whenever you're describing a masculine profession, you use der. Remember, I also said when you want to describe a masculine gender, you also use der for it. Okay, so we've looked at 2 ways in which we can use der, in which we can use masculine. We're going to look at more ways in which we can use der. We use der for the days of the week. Der Montag, der Dienstag, der Mittwoch, der Donnerstag, der Freitag, der Samstag. Okay, so with days of the week, all the days of the week are categorized with der. Now we also use der for the months of the year, Monaten. Der Januar, der Februar, der März, der April. We also use der for the days of the week, der Montag, der Dienstag, der Mittwoch, der Donnerstag, der Freitag. So another usage of der is for seasons of the year. Der Sommer, der Winter. Use der for the seasons of the year. We also use der for the weather, for das Wetter. Der Regen, der Schnee, der Blitz. So 4 ways we can use the masculine der. We use der for the days of the week. Der Montag, der Dienstag, der Mittwoch, der Donnerstag, der Freitag. We use der for the months of the year. Der Januar, der Februar, der März, der April. We use der for the seasons of the year. Der Sommer, der Winter. We also use der for the weather, for das Wetter. Der Regen, der Schnee, der Blitz, as the case may be. Another ways we can use der. Now let's look at words that we use der with. Words that end with their particular endings. If a word ends in er, if a noun ends in er, then we are likely to use the article der for it. For example, der Koffer, der Spieler. Okay? So if a noun ends in er, please use the masculine der for it. If a noun ends in en, use der for it. You know that it is masculine, all right? So I am teaching you how to know when to use der, when to use the masculine. So if a word ends, if a noun ends in en, then you have to use masculine for it, der for it. Der Rasen, der Ofen. Now if a noun ends in ig, if a noun ends in ig, you use masculine for it. You know it is masculine, right? Der Essig, der Honig. All right? Now, since a lot of you are disturbed and confused about it, you need to find out when to use der. So I have told you that if a noun ends in er, you use der. If a noun ends in en, you use der. And if a noun ends in ig, you use der. Very simple. Now, more usages. We're going to look at feminine. When do we use feminine? When will it be appropriate for you to use feminine? Now, firstly, we use feminine with feminine persons. All right. For example, the mother, die Mutter. Okay, the mother is a feminine gender, so we say die Mutter. We use feminine die for die wife, die Frau, die Schwester, die Frau, die Hausfrau, die Mutter, die Schwester, die Tante. All right, recap from when we learned the family, when we learned about people in the family. So if a particular person is a feminine gender, then you use a die. Also for female professions, die Lehrerin, the teacher, the female teacher, the Ärztin, the doctor, the female doctor, the Mechanikerin, the female mechanic. All right, so you use die for female professions. Now, words feminine with the words ending in e. If a noun ends in e, it's likely to be feminine. For example, die Lampe, die Erde. If a noun ends with ei, it's likely to be feminine as well. For example, die Bäckerei, die Schneiderei. Now, if a noun ends in het, it is also likely to be feminine. Die Schönheit, die Krankheit. So whenever you have a word that ends in heit, it's likely to be feminine. All right, now nouns that end in ung, nouns that end in ung, die Zeitung, die Endung, die Sendung are also feminine. Nouns that end in at, ik, ion, die Nationalität, die Klinik, die Lektion are also feminine. All right, now let's also see nouns that end in keit, nouns that end in keit, kite. Example, die Süßigkeit, die Wirklichkeit, die Krankheit, as the case may be. All right, now nouns that ends with shafts, die Freundschaft, die Gesellschaft. Okay, all right, so I will send you a long list of these words that ends with this syllables, basically, to help you go through them and know when to use the feminine, as the case may be. All right, so now we're down to das. I have taught you how to know when to use der. I have taught you how to know when to use die, and now we're down to das. All right, now das is used for nouns or verbs, from verbs or adjectives. Now, if a noun is formed from a verb or from an adjective, then you use das. For example, das Essen. In this case, Essen is functioning as a noun. I know you know Essen as the verb to eat, but in this case, Essen is functioning as the food itself, the noun, the food, the physical food that you have with you, the rice or the beans. Essen is functioning as the food here. So Essen was derived from the verb essen. All right, remember, for verbs we use the small letter, and for nouns we use the capital letter. So in this case, it is das Essen. Das Fahren, derived from the verb fahren, right? Das teuerste, derived from the adjective teuer, for something to be expensive. So whenever a noun is formed from a verb or an object, you use das for it. Now, let's look at endings where we use das. Now, when a noun ends in chen or lein, you use das for it. Example, das Mädchen, das Kindlein. When a noun ends in ment, you also use das for it. Das Monument, das Sortiment. When a noun ends in nis, use das for it. Das Ergebnis. When a noun ends in tum, use das for it. Das Eigentum, das Brauchtum. When a noun ends in use das for it. Das Zentrum, das Museum. Okay, now it's also good to know that these are only guidelines. These are only guidelines that help you. There's no way for you to know if we are going to use der, das, or die. It's really no way to find out. The only thing you are supposed to do here is to study each word in line with each correct article. These guidelines I've given you would only guide you. For example, when the word is ending in a particular with a particular phrase, you know, okay, maybe you should come with das, der, or die. Please study your words. I'm going to send you a long list of words to your email. Please go through these words and try and put the articles, the correct articles, before them as your assignment. I will be expecting the answers to your questions. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Schneider Institute, and also hit the subscribe button on our YouTube. Please send in all your questions under the comment section of our YouTube page, and I will see you in the next class. Study your words. Remember when to use der, das, and die. Thank you for watching.